We have seen how to create new sections. We have also seen how to just mark cells that are relevant for calculations. And well, we have seen like how can we have multiple reports in one report group, pretty much that in the previous lesson. But now we want to take things a bit like further, because we want to show how can we define a new section, but the complete new section will be a calculated section. So, well, for this we will copy and create a third version of our report. So let's open information systems and just the usual path. For report painter, and we will create a new report. And again, we will copy this last report just like as a template for the third version. So let's just delete also this, and this is going to be a calculated section. Okay, we will use the previous report as the base for our new version. So let's just click create. And well, again, we have like, just because we copied, we have everything set up. But we will add an extra row here in the main cost element section, that we will use that one just to have all the cost elements that we have for personal expenses. And we will set that up as a formula that is relevant for the calculation of the new section. So let's just double click here to add a new row. And of course, well, this is going to be a characteristic. Actually, well, we just want it to have cost element. And we will use the set hierarchy on to select the group of cost elements. So for this time, this exercise, we want 1100 underscore CE. That is the group of cost elements of personal expenses, as you can see here. And well, again, we will have that. Actually, we won't explode this. That's something we need to check because we don't want to explode this. Just to have the full amount. And again, we will divide by the square meters to get just the personal expenses divided by the square meters, and we can analyze that. So if we have it like this, let's just check and confirm. And we'll go all the way to the top to edit, rows, explode. And again, we will just double check that it's in do not expand, which is just fine. And we will define the cell for personal cost element, for just the personal cost elements, the personal expenses, both for actual and for plan. So again, remember, when we double click the cell, this check mark just is showing, and that just means that the system has identified this as something that we want to use in calculations, just the value of that particular cost element, that row, and actually cost element group. And then of course it's the system automatically assigns the correct ID for each one of them. So well, what is the next step that we want to show is just how can we set up the new section. But actually, let's just have a look at the next section that we already have available, the second section. So we just come here, go to section, next section, and again, this is the statistical key figure section, if you remember, and we already have the cell for the actual and and the intersection with square meters set up as relevant, and also the plan statistical key figure value for square meters set up. So with this, we will define a third section, and I mean, in this third section, the complete section will be just a calculated section, so different from the previous steps that we have shown, because we just created a regular section. Now this is going to be a calculated section. So let's come here, edit, sections, new section. But again, the main difference is that we want this to be a section with just calculated key figures. the complete section. So, well, let's confirm that. And well, important, just maybe the description. Let's just enter here that this is actually this is the calculated section. Okay. And now, well, first we need to define this is going to be different because the system already knows that this is a calculated section. So what gets calculated is the cells, not so much what we have in the columns or even what we set up in the rows. So let's just have a look at what happens when we try to define a new row. The system won't allow us to define like the row like immediately, or because again, the whole section, the cells will be just the calculated amounts that we want the system to calculate. So it would just say, okay, give me the description for the row. And in this scenario, we want the personal costs. Let's enter it like this: personal costs by square meter. And well, let's just copy that short text. And again, that's pretty much it for the rows. And like, okay, we haven't seen what will be the content, how the system will know what the content will be. Well, this is because, again, everything is going to be a calculation. So let's just continue to define the column, and something very similar will happen. Have a look. We can just define like what will be the text for the column. And actually, we will have, well, first the actual column. So let's just enter actual. And we'll copy the short text. And let's do like the same, but for the second column, which will hold the plan costs. So plan, just plan, for example. So we have a column for actual, a column for plan. And now what is important, it's if we just create the report like this, nothing is going to happen because we haven't defined like what are the contents of the cells. So to define the content, let's just double click the cell, the intersection with actual and the row. And here we need to set up the formula. So we have to choose the value that has the costs, which in this scenario is this one, the personal actual, and we will divide that by the actual statistical key figure of the square meters, so this one. So let's just click the slash to add the slash here, and again we will divide by the actual value of square meters. Okay, and we just let's confirm this. And now we need to set up the formula for the plan. Just have a look that the system just creates an icon just to specify that we have already defined the value here for these cells. And now we want to do the same for plan. So we just double click. And of course we will do the same, but with the plan values. So like the personal costs, the personal plan costs divided by the plan statistical key figure value. So let's just click the slash and let's use the plan statistical key figure. Okay, now let's just confirm this. And that's well, pretty much it for the formulas. And well, let's check and save, and then we can just execute. So let's check. No errors were found, so that's pretty great. Of course, let's save it. And well, actually, this is again a new report, but the information stems from the same database table. So again, it just makes sense to add this to the same report group. So let's come here to the top and click on assign report to report group. We won't create a new report group as we have been saying, so we will just assign it to the same report group as the two other previous versions of the report. So we can just continue. And of course, let's execute this so we can see the consequence of our a new, well, of our actions that we set up a new section. So as always, the system will start like they're compiling. And well, let's just, we won't modify the parameters. Let's just run this. Again, as always, like it might seem nothing happened, but you have to remember we are just in another report here on the left hand side. So this one was just a calculation, well, the report that we had a calculation involving a cell in the creation of a new column. But this is the most important, the calculated section. And of course, what we need to do here is just to scroll down, or actually we can always click go to, and we can just click position sections, and we can select the actual section. For example, we could say I want to see the last section, the calculated section, and it will just show that section. But actually we can also like scroll down, because we just want you to see both sections, actually the three sections. We have the one at the top, in which we have the personal expenses. We have the one in the middle, which just have the statistical key figures and the square meters, for example, here. Again, we don't have anything in actual, so in the calculated section, the actual column is also empty. But what is nice to see is that we have a correct value here for the plan costs per square meter of personal expenses. So we have like, this is the amount, and this is the plan statistical key figure. So we got the correct value here, the divided value, the division. We have it in a whole new section, just to evaluate the data independently. So well, okay, that is exactly what we wanted. And you just have to remember, and we just want to be clear, that this section, actually we also call this a dependent section. Why? Well, just because this section actually is, the whole section is not querying anything from the database. This section queries the database for statistical key figures. This one queries the database for the costs. But this one, it doesn't query anything. It's just a dependent section that uses values from the two other sections to calculate a new, just a new value for with a new formula for the cells. But again, that's the reason it was also pretty much very different to define this. And also it won't add to maybe the performance, I mean like just the querying of database, because it's just calculated. And as we know, HANA calculates everything just incredibly faster now. And well, just as you know, the switching of the reports is just in milliseconds, because all of these reports are using the same original set of data. So that's pretty much it for this lesson. Let's just close this, quit this app, quit this transaction. And with this, we just want to invite you to keep learning with all of our trainings. Thanks so much.